best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
Hello everyone, welcome once again to Ask the Treksperts, the show where we answer your questions about Star Trek. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
Today we're going to do something we've never done before. This is actually going to be kind of a double brand new sort of thing, in that this will be the first time that we've done a review in the How We're Feeling It style. Sarah and I are wanting to review something today that is pretty brand spanking new, and that we don't want to spoil too terribly much, because you might want to watch it for yourselves. So we're going to do this in the same format that we do new movie reviews, but as an episode of Ask the Treksperts, given that it is about Star Trek. And the other thing is that we have never reviewed a fan film before. This is a first for us. I've considered it with a couple of things, and we've gotten requests, but this is the first one where I really felt like, we need to weigh in on this. And also, I don't want to say that we'll never do this again. There could be other things that we might want to review down the road.
Certainly.
That are fan films. So anyway, this is going to be really interesting. We've never done this before. The thing that we're reviewing today is a brand new show that just started that is hoping to become a series. There's one episode out for it right now. They're doing a Kickstarter campaign hoping to make more of them. And that's part of the reason I wanted to mention this, was to get the word out there in case you like the show enough that you want to help support them, because and I think they only have a few days left with their Kickstarter. Hopefully this is up by the time while it's still going, but I think it will be. So anyway, this series, if it becomes a series, is called Star Trek Continues. It is basically somewhat like Star Trek New Voyages, supposed to be like the further adventures of Captain Kirk and the original Enterprise, doing more of the 5-year mission. So it would be like years 4 and 5, and you can see, looking at it, that they very much have that notion in mind. There are a couple of things here and there that are a little bit different, that are a little bit tweaked, like look, this is later than season 3, but not so much that you don't feel like it's still that crew on that mission. The first episode, and then we'll elaborate and tell you what it looks like and what it's like here in a minute. But just to give you a very, very brief plot synopsis, this is a sequel to Who Mourns for Adonais. They bring back not only Apollo, but the actor who played Apollo. Michael, I had it here. Give me 1 second, because I gotta make sure and get this right. It's Michael Forrest, and they bring him back, and they come up with a pretty satisfying conceit for why he looks so much older. So we have an Apollo that kind of looks like he's in his 70s, but actually somewhat changes ages throughout, which is really interesting. Yeah. And basically the idea is that something has happened to the realm where, and that's what they call it, the realm where he and his people are originally from, and he and Athena show up. I think it's Athena, at the beginning of the episode, and their appearance seems to threaten the Enterprise in some way, but then they find out that Apollo's not actually meaning them harm this time. And basically the whole episode is exploring whether or not Apollo can live as a mortal without seeking the worship that gave him the energy for his superpowers. And that's basically what the episode is doing. I was really surprised that they got the actor back, and really surprised by the script. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get right into it now. Sarah, how did you feel about this first episode of Star Trek Continues?
Well, this episode made me feel like I was watching a 4th season original series episode that was brought to us from a parallel Earth. Oh,
interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So that implies that you weren't 100% buying this is still the original series universe.
No.
Okay, all right.
Well, yes and no.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. They had the feel down. They really did. It opens and it feels like the original series. And throughout the whole show, with certain bits and pieces that kind of pulled me out here and there, overall, the series just had the feel of the original series. Okay? The problem that I had to get over was, one, the actors aren't the same, and of course it's a fan film, so they're not going to be, but it's always going to pull you out a little bit. And then there were a couple bits and pieces here and there that were just like, I'm not sure that would necessarily have happened in the original series.
Yeah.
So it really, I think they met their goal of making it feel like a fourth season original series episode, but just with enough tweaks and, and bits here and there that it made it feel like it was the original series, but from a parallel dimension.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So, what was something you really liked and something you weren't sure about?
Well, I feel obligated to say that the thing that I really liked was Apollo. Because
and he's one of your favorite TOS characters.
He is one of my favorite TOS characters. I love that actor.
That's a lot of the reason I wanted to show it to you, because I was like, oh, Sarah's gonna die when she sees this actor come back.
He was brilliant in the original, and he is so good in this. And so I think they just developed a great story written around this guy. I think they gave him great dialogue, great stuff to do, and I think he is a tremendous actor. So if nothing else in that episode had worked, if the whole thing had dive bombed and fallen flat on its face, but all of his stuff had stayed the same, I think I would find it hard to keep from going back and watching that episode.
You would have still been glad you watched it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the big positive for me. The negative, I would have to say, is the counselor.
Okay. And her name is McKenna.
McKenna. Couple reasons.
Set this up a little bit.
Okay, so I see what they were trying to do with McKenna.
Wait, for the viewer, set up who she is and what they did
right.
with it.
Basically, she is this new crew member on board the Enterprise, and just one of those TOS one-shot women who falls in love with the big threat to the ship. Just
now,
like in...
I'm sorry to stop you, but
yeah.
Did you not get the sense that she's maybe supposed to be a recurring character on the show?
I could see that happening.
Possibly, yeah.
But the original series had a lot of those women where they were there for that one episode,
You're right.
They were there for that one role that never shows up ever again. Just like the young, what was it, a lieutenant that Apollo fell in love with in the original, or like MacGyver's with Khan.
With Khan, yeah.
I mean, this happened a couple times where, I've never heard of that position or seen that
Palamas
character.
was the original.
Yeah.
And she's referenced in this, and I liked what they said about
yeah.
her.
And so basically, the ship's counselor here, McKenna, is supposed to be, or is basically filling the role of Palamas from the original one, but in a different way. She's a different character, and it doesn't play out the same way at all. But she's supposed to be the potential possible love interest or person that fawns over the powerful male.
And I thought they
on the
subverted
ship.
our expectations with that.
Yeah, I thought they did. I thought they did too.
But what didn't you like about it?
Okay, one, the idea of a counselor on the ship. Because you and I had this conversation earlier where that's the idea of a ship's counselor really is not a 60s idea.
I don't think it is.
It's more of an 80s idea.
I think that's a product of the late 80s. Projecting into TNG.
It makes sense for TNG that they would have one, but I'm not sure I could see them pulling it back into the original series.
Did we need a Troy prototype is the question, yeah.
Yeah, and that by itself wouldn't have really brought it down for me.
No.
But what came with it was the type of spunky attitude that they gave to her. There were plenty of women with spunk in TOS, but not that kind, if you know what I mean. It was a very, very modern, spunky attitude. I mean, I don't really know how to describe it other than that.
The mannerisms were just too contemporary.
Very.
And I think it's somewhat of a, and I'm agreeing with you, which is why I'm weighing in on this. I feel like it's somewhat of a credit to the other actors because they don't feel that way, the majority of them.
They all seem to fit in, and I think that's why she kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Now, I think the actress is fine. I think she's a good actress.
She was a great actress.
But I don't think the part fits.
Yeah.
And I think
I'd have to watch it again to see if it was the script or if it was her interpretation of the script.
I had a very difficult time pinpointing that myself.
And, I'm just not sure. But I liked her, but she didn't fit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if she popped up in a 24th century fan film, you would have been like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I even liked what they did with her.
Oh, I loved what they did with her.
I loved her as an actress. I loved her character, and I loved...
And her relationship with Apollo is interesting.
Yes, I thought it was all great, but she didn't fit.
Well, what's your verdict?
My verdict is, very easily, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, okay. This episode, and very similar to what you wrote, actually, made me feel almost like I was watching an authentic last episode of TOS, and I think I'm going even farther than you. I didn't feel like I was watching a parallel Earth. I felt like I was watching an original series episode where every single actor that day got sick and couldn't come to work. That's how I felt about it. My big positive on this, and I would have said what you said, I would have said that it's that actor playing Apollo again. But since you already said that, I'm going to go for something else because there's so much to like about this.
Yeah.
The big one I'm going to go for after that is production value. Authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's why I wrote authentic here. Authenticity. This looks like an original series episode.
Yeah.
Not just in how close the sets are. They're beautiful. They look just like that show. But the film quality, the cinematography, the lighting, the choices are TOS choices.
Yeah.
They look like the way they shot that show, and I was so impressed. I really enjoyed that. I had moments where I had to remind myself that I was watching a fan project. I was very impressed, and the production values look television.
They really did.
It's wonderful for that. The directing is great. The guy who plays Captain Kirk directed the episode, and his name, let me give him credit here, is Vic Mignogna. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but anyway, he does a lot of those pushes with the camera that they always did in the original series. And he just kept making choices where I was like, this guy knows it meticulously.
Yeah,
he knows every beat about how that goes, and I have to credit the script here too for authenticity because this is an original series script.
It is
through and through. This is the kind of storytelling that show did, and of one of the better kinds of episodes too. The pacing was spot on, and it was all about a big idea. And it was exploring this idea, and it was talking about large things on a budget, which is what that show did. Everything was driven through the conversations, and the conversations were interesting, and and most of them felt real for that world. I love that. And yeah, Apollo tears it up. There is this amazing moment where he, being the god of music, we get to listen to him sing, and it's a song that thematically plays through the episode, and it's about the fact that he used to be a god but now isn't anymore, and how it was taken away from him in the blink of an eye, and how badly he misses that and wants to be worshipped, but also how it's more important to him now that he figures out how to live amongst humanity. And there's a wonderful nature versus nurture kind of thing going on through this episode where it's can he break past his nature, and his nature is physically embodied in the God organ, which was straight out of that. I mean, like everything done with this, I think I had a couple little reservations about the ending, but it's also really interesting, so I'm not going to begrudge it too much. It was maybe a little hokey, but maybe it was TOS hokey. So I was all right with it.
And I love the ending.
But and I knew you would, but I had slight reservations about it. But everything sprawled out of the continuity that they gave us from the first place in that episode. I am convinced that if a major writer on original series, be it DC Fontana or be it one of the other people that came back a lot, Bixby, wrote in episode, these would be the themes.
Yeah,
I really felt that.
And you have the big moral dilemma that you could really see either side of, that Kirk needs to solve.
Exactly. And you can see both sides of it. Yeah. Because you don't want this guy to die, so you can. And there's also a part of you that doesn't want Apollo to have to be immortal.
Yeah.
And especially because you liked him so much. Yeah. And
I'm cool with him being a god and doing god things. I'll
talk more about that in a minute. Let me get to my negative thing, because there was another thing I was going to say, but I'm like, let me get through the format stuff. My negative, and I somewhat agree with yours, although I don't think I fixated on it like you did, but I agree with you. For me, I think it was the actor playing McCoy. I just didn't care for his performance. I don't think he's a bad actor. I just don't think he was right for the role. He's and his name is Larry Nemecek, and again, I think he does okay. It's just of the triad. And we'll talk about Scotty in a minute because holy crap! But wow, Scotty in this. But Nemecek. Seems too reserved for Dr. McCoy. He seems too, he's, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to go as far as to call him prissy.
Maybe laid back.
But he's, and too soft-spoken for McCoy. I don't see this guy getting enraged like McCoy did. I see he has too much of the wrong kind of bedside manner. He feels like a doctor, but he doesn't feel like Dr. McCoy. Yeah. And that was the thing for me. I had a little bit of a tough time with his performance. But I liked, and again, he's a good actor, but I wasn't buying the triad.
Yeah.
And then I have another big negative thing, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. Anyway, I am feeling it. Hard on this one and wanting very much to see more episodes from these folks. I think they're great. Very quickly, I'd like to compare this a little bit to New Voyages, which I've only watched a couple episodes of. And they by the way, have in this show apparently gotten to do some of what New Voyages did. New Voyages, if you don't know, is a fan series much like this that tries to do more TOS. And it was spearheaded by James Cawley, who played Kirk for the first 9 episodes. I guess they have a new guy now, or at least that's what I was reading earlier. And anyway, he's serviceable as Kirk, but the thing I resisted about that show is they got a lot of the sets and stuff right. Their bridge, I mean, like Enterprise borrowed props from their bridge for Inner Mirror Darkly. It got so close. There are some really cool things about that show, but the biggest thing I always resisted about it, really the only thing, besides the fact that I don't think any of their scripts are as good as this script, but they're not bad. They have some good stuff. And I'm only comparing these two things because this series is doing what that series did. The only thing I always resisted about that was that I always felt like their CG effects were done too contemporarily. They were done too much like we do it now. There'd be some shaky cam. It looked like Firefly, and it took me out. I didn't feel like I was watching original series at that point. Yeah. What I love about what this does, and all they need to do is change that, and then that's a better show. What I really like here with what they do is theirs look like original series remasters. And I think they look pretty much, first of all, they look as good as that. Yeah.
Well, the effect on screen of the realm, Apollo's realm coming toward the ship, that really reminded me of some of the remastered effects that we've seen.
And I don't think if the remasters had never come out, I would have enjoyed this as much as I did. Because I would have been taken out by the fact that I'm so used to original series, guys. I just really enjoy the old primitive effects from that show, and I don't find them too primitive either. They were state of the art for their time, or at least a lot of them were, and they did the best they could with what they had, you know. So at least for television, I say state of the art. But anyway, so you get to this, and because we had remasters, I felt like it looked like an original series episode, at least remastered like that. It was really tasteful in the way it made the space stuff look like original series would have if they had the kinds of effects we have now. Which is what I felt like the remasters always did. Yeah. The one thing they do a little bit differently that I was totally okay with, because I always thought that the remasters were maybe too faithful to the original in this, is that they let the ship actually turn. They don't have that thing where it veers on. They let it actually completely turn.
Yeah,
that's
a minor thing.
Just fine with me. Yeah. Anyway, so what else did you like or not like about it? Let's throw out a few more things to give people an idea of what this show is.
Wow, I really liked, like you mentioned, I liked Scotty in this. I liked that he was made more a character, more involved with the rest of the characters, the main triad with the plot and all that.
Scotty is one of the big selling points for the show because he's played by Christopher Doohan. He is played by James Doohan's son. And I mean, like, that could have been too much of a gimmick, but he's good.
Yeah.
He's really
he's fantastic.
good.
He's almost like original Scotty reincarnated. You know,
I kept forgetting it wasn't Doohan.
Yeah,
didn't you?
Yeah, Yeah.
He's amazing, and he's about the age his father was playing it. So he looks it,
right.
he sounds it, he does the accent well, and he's got as much or more energy than anybody there.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
He's really putting his heart and soul into this, and you could tell.
I like the Scotty in the new Star Trek movies, but if they wanted to do something a little more authentic, closer to TOS, they should have gotten him, man.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. So yeah, he gets a credit in the opening credits. You know, usually it would only be Kirk, Spock, and in fact, originally it was just Kirk and Spock that got credits. Then eventually they added McCoy. Here they do all four of them, and it's more like a rectangle now instead of a triad, which is actually
Quadrangle.
which is actually one of my complaints about it is that rectangle has to always be in. They have to always be in agreement on everything for Kirk to make any kind of decision.
Yeah.
We should talk about that for a minute in just a second. But I was okay with him getting a credit because Scotty was, of the rest of the supporting cast in the original series, the one that got character episodes. And so he didn't feel out of place that suddenly he got a lot of screen time. Because I didn't feel like he got any more screen time than he did in other episodes where he was majorly featured.
Sure. There were other episodes where he was even in the captain's chair for a while. And so he was the B story where Kirk and, McCoy and Spock were down on the planet trapped or doing their thing, and Scotty was up in space dealing with random spatial anomaly or Klingon vessel or whatever.
This reminded me of Galileo 7 in that way.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a Wolf in the Fold in that way. That Scotty gets a lot of screen time, but it doesn't feel like it's taking away from the triangle.
Yeah. Another thing that I really liked from this episode, God voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Apollo gets his big booming voice at one point.
It's really authentic.
Great. Yeah.
We get to see him display his superpowers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. So they went all the way back to that. So a lot of callbacks to the original episode.
In fact, I'm going to say something you might not agree with. I think I liked Apollo more.
In this?
Yeah. And I can't believe that. It's technically a fan film.
He is more 3D in this.
Oh yeah, he's a fully formed, and he's interesting in the original.
That's one of my favorite episodes.
But he's like Trelane. He's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And here he's I feel like they handled him a little more like they handled Khan in Space Seed. If that makes any sense, except that the endings are really, really, really different.
Yeah, no, I was actually drawing parallels between Space Seed and this as I was watching.
Especially in the way that he looks at historical records, but I don't want to give that away because it's really neat.
Yeah.
That is my favorite moment.
Yeah.
Is when he looks at an old historical record, and I don't want to give it away. Really neat, and so TOS.
Yeah.
And keep in mind when that show was made and what they're referencing, or when TOS was made, what they're referencing and how. Anyway.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing I had a huge reservation about, is the idea that we must have consensus.
Yeah.
What was it? Was I missing something?
No. Well, it kept coming back. It happened like 3 times. I could see that being okay. Well, we don't have consensus yet. Okay, I can see that being a throwaway line where Kirk's saying, okay, well, we still are all saying different things about Apollo. There's still more to discuss. There's more to find out and more to research before we can make a good, solid determination on what's the right path. But the problem is that they kept coming back to that, and it culminated in the final time where Kirk actually puts the idea to a vote.
And somebody's life is in jeopardy over it.
Yeah, it's...
Potentially.
The idea of getting the senior officers to agree is one thing. That's laudable. And it happens. I mean, there's always discussion among the senior officers.
No,
they'll have their different ideas.
Yeah, Kirk should take their opinions to heart and listen to them, and that's the mark of a good captain. But it's not a democracy.
You don't need consensus before you make a decision.
No, he's a starship captain. It's not a democracy. And how many times in the original series did Kirk say that? Where he would finally stop everybody and say, okay, noted.
Yeah.
I have heard what you said. I heard what you... Noted.
Yeah.
Now stop talking about it. I've made my decision.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not a democracy.
That's what I kept waiting for him to do, but he didn't.
He never does it.
And
I hate that because...
it just wasn't quite right.
I feel like the actor wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was watching a Kirk that was timid.
Yeah. I don't know why the script was written that way. But it just, that didn't make sense to me.
I kept thinking I was missing something, but I watched it twice, and I don't...
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But that's the big story thing I was confused about, and I hope that in later episodes they don't turn the original series, or they don't turn the Enterprise into suddenly a democracy where those 4 people have to make choices together.
Yeah, you don't want a ship
really
run by
strange.
committee.
No, you really don't. Because we've seen episodes of Star Trek where that's bad.
Yeah.
You know, where somebody's indecisiveness messes up everything.
Yeah, or I mean, most
Remember
of the
Troy
time,
and Disaster? It was for her to finally just put her foot down and say, no, Ensign Rowe, I'm doing this. Yeah. That's important in that kind of a... So the hierarchy was gone.
Yeah, and there are times when, people just won't agree. You're coming from 2 very different places, and you need somebody just to say, here's what we're doing, right or wrong. This seems to be the best path, and just go with it. And that's the point of having a captain, rather than, triumvirate or something.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, how much are we recommending this? I mean, see it. It's really cool. And
It's worth your time.
I'll put a link in the description. Watch it if you get the time. It's the length of an original series episode. It's about 51 minutes long, and I think it's worth your time. I don't think you'll be disappointed especially if you know your TOS, and especially if you liked Who Mourns for Adonais.
Yes.
So anyway, thanks everybody as always for watching. I know we promised last time that we were going to do some animated series, and we haven't had time to make these in a while. I know it's probably been about a month since we've done a Treksperts. So I want to apologize for having not done that yet, but we just saw this, and I really wanted to get this up before their Kickstarter was gone. So anyway, that'll be the next thing we do. We're gonna do some animated series, and I think what we're gonna try to do is try to binge watch some of it, and then just do an overview of animated series. Maybe eventually we'll do some retrospectives on specific episodes, but we've never just done, I think we've done retrospectives on all of the series for the most part, something or rather. We've done full episodes on Enterprise, we've done full episodes on DS9, but we've never done animated series, so that's the next thing we're going to do.
I'm going to make a prediction.
Yes!
My prediction is that I'm going to enjoy this process about 10 times more than you.
Well, I'll tell you right away. The biggest thing that makes an animated series difficult for me to watch a lot of at once is that the music in that show is really repetitive and loops a lot, and it gets stuck in my head all day long and drives me crazy. That's the thing that makes it tough to watch. I enjoy it to a degree, but anyway, it'll be fun to do that because we've never done it. And anyway, that's it from us today. Thanks everybody for watching. We sure appreciate it. If you have a question you'd like to ask us on Ask the Treksperts, please leave that in the comments below, or an episode you'd like us to review. And in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan,
and I'm Sarah.
We'll see you next time.
The best is yet to come.